FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
I think McCain's core problems, and I'll end with a brief discussion here, are with a few groups. The first, as Professor Fiorina mentioned, is young voters. He is getting obliterated with young voters. We teach these people every week. He's currently losing about 65 to 30 amongst young voters. The interesting thing here is that young voters tend to come into an electorate and they tend to mirror or even exaggerate the preferences of existing voters. In other words, they come in, they don't really know very much, they're not all that interested, they're not involved, and they tend to respond to, whatever the political breeze is. In this particular election cycle, with the candidacy of Obama, they've taken the lead. They're not responding, they're out in front. And that's something I haven't seen in my short time of observing these sorts of generational shifts. This is something I think has to concern the Republicans, because where you end up depends in large part upon where you start. And they're starting off extremely Democratic. Women, there is a 21-point gender gap right now. McCain is actually +4 with men. He's -17 with women. Right. Now, disaffected Republicans, he's doing all right here, but they're Republicans. And I define these, by the way, as people who identify as Republican but disapprove of Bush. And amongst these voters, you see that Obama is getting close to 30%. And that's a huge problem for McCain. And then my last is an homage to Richard Florida's creative class. This is, and Palo Alto is one of the absolute epicenters of this. These are sort of young, not all young, but largely young, entrepreneurial, educated, diverse, multicultural. These are sort of the engines, whether it's in the arts or the sciences or computers or technology. These are the sorts of people that drive these new ideopolises in Austin, Texas, in Boston, in the tech corridor in California. And if you segment these people out, the Republican Party is having increasingly difficulty messaging these people. They don't quite know what to say, partly because they don't care at all about some of the cultural issues that Professor Fiorina talked about. So those sorts of issues, I think, dominate the problem Republicans have long-term. Forget about McCain. Long-term, the Republican Party has got to develop a message to young people, to this creative class, and there's also the sort of secular problem of growth rates amongst pro-democratic cohorts, in particular Latinos, blue-scale whites to a lesser extent, but really Latinos are high-growth groups that don't really have a Republican inclination, and Republicans are having all sorts of trouble developing an appeal amongst these groups. And I think long-term, this suggests some coalitional problems for the Republican Party.